Imagine waking up to this headline. The Vicar of Christ, the Bishop of Rome, Pope Leo himself, ordering 4 of his closest advisors, 4 cardinals, to be arrested. Offices sealed, phones disconnected, a purge of corruption at the highest level of the Vatican. That's the claim spreading across social media. It's dramatic, it's emotional, and for many people it's believable because, let's be honest, scandals in the church are real. Cardinals have been arrested before, convicted before, humiliated before. But here's the problem. This particular story is not true. Pope Leo XIV has not ordered the arrest of anyone. And today, I'm going to show you why this story is fake, how you can spot the red flags, and then, more importantly, what really has happened when cardinals were arrested in the past. Because while the lie spreads fast, the truth matters more. The viral document claims to be a speech from Pope Leo XIV himself. It paints a chilling picture. The Holy Father standing before the faithful, announcing that 4 of his own cardinals have been found guilty of corruption, betrayal, even dark conspiracies. In this so-called speech, their names are given: Cardinal Raphael Marini, Adrian Farnell, Giuseppe Conti, and Lucas Herrera. It describes them as powerful men, pulling strings for decades, their offices suddenly sealed, their phones disconnected, their influence shattered overnight. It sounds like something out of a thriller novel, and that's why it catches fire online. It feels dramatic. It feels believable. And for some people, it feels like the kind of bold, sweeping action they've been waiting for. Because let's be honest, the Catholic Church has seen corruption, scandals, and betrayals before. So when a story like this surfaces, people think, yes, this could happen. But here's the first problem. None of those names exist in the official list of cardinals. You can look up the College of Cardinals. The Vatican publishes it. Raphael Marini, Farnell, Herrera? Not there. It's like reading about fictional senators in a Hollywood movie. The second problem, silence. If a pope were to arrest 4 cardinals, it would explode across every news outlet in the world. The Vatican itself would release an official statement. You'd see Reuters, AP, BBC, CNN, Catholic News Agency, Vatican News, all reporting it instantly. But in this case, nothing. Not a single credible outlet. And here's the third issue, the tone. Real Vatican statements are dry, formal, legal. They talk about dates, decrees, communiques. This text, by contrast, is dripping with emotion. It talks about betrayal, whispers, sealed doors. It feels like reading a screenplay, not a papal announcement. So when you step back, the cracks become obvious. A story that grabs attention with fire and drama, but has no foundation. A castle built on sand. And that's the danger. Misinformation doesn't need truth to spread. It only needs to feel true.
Now let's slow down and really examine the text. If you've ever wondered how to tell the difference between a true Vatican story and a piece of fiction, this is your moment. The first red flag, the names. Look closely. Raphael Marini, Adrian Farnell, Giuseppe Conti, Lucas Herrera. They sound authentic, even Italian or Spanish. But none of them exist in the College of Cardinals. The Vatican publishes the official list, and these names are nowhere on it. This is a classic trick of misinformation. Use realistic-sounding characters to hook you emotionally, but ones you can't actually verify. The second red flag, the silence of real news. When the Vatican does anything, even something as small as appointing a parish priest to a bishopric, it's documented, archived, and shared with outlets worldwide. When a pope speaks, within minutes you'll see updates on Reuters, Associated Press, Vatican News, Catholic News Agency. If something as earth-shaking as the arrest of 4 cardinals actually happened, you wouldn't just see whispers on social media. You'd see a media storm. The absence of coverage is not neutrality. It's a warning sign. The third red flag, the language. Listen to this line from the document. Their offices were sealed, their phones disconnected, their lives changed forever. That's not how the Vatican speaks. Official communiques are dry, even boring. The Holy See has announced disciplinary proceedings pending investigation. They sound like press releases, because they are. This text, on the other hand, is dripping with drama. It feels like a political thriller, not a papal statement. That's a giveaway. The fourth red flag, the secrecy motif. False stories often lean heavily on secrecy, sealed doors, hidden files, whispered conversations. It makes you feel like you're part of an exclusive truth, like you're in on a secret no one else knows. That emotional pull is powerful, but it's also manipulative. True journalism, on the other hand, names sources, dates, places. It doesn't hide behind shadows. And finally, the fifth red flag, no corroboration. A story this big would ripple. Even if Vatican outlets somehow missed it, local Italian newspapers would pick it up. International Catholic bloggers would discuss it. Journalists would demand confirmation. Instead, there's nothing. That void speaks volumes. So here's the lesson. Whenever you see a dramatic claim about the Church, walk through these red flags. Names, real or invented. News silence or coverage. Language, emotional or factual. Secrecy or sources. Corroboration or void. If the answers don't line up, you're not looking at news. You're looking at fiction, dressed up as truth.
So the viral Pope Leo story is false, but that doesn't mean cardinals have always been untouched. In fact, history shows us moments, painful moments, where the scarlet robes of a cardinal were not enough to shield them from handcuffs, prison bars, or the judgment of a courtroom. Let's walk through 4 powerful examples. Cardinal Joseph Zen, Hong Kong, 2022. Picture this, a 90-year-old man, frail in body but strong in spirit, is led away by Hong Kong's National Security Police. That man was Cardinal Joseph Zen, Bishop Emeritus of Hong Kong, a champion of religious freedom and human rights. In May 2022, he was arrested under China's strict national security law. His crime? Helping run a fund that supported pro-democracy activists. The image of a tiny elderly priest being fingerprinted by the state sent shockwaves around the world. Though released on bail that same night, his trial made it clear no one, not even a cardinal of the Church, was safe under a regime bent on control. His courage became a symbol, a reminder that faith often collides with politics in the most dangerous ways. Now shift to Australia. In 2017, one of the Vatican's most powerful men, Cardinal George Pell, faced accusations of sexual abuse.
The news hit like an earthquake. This was the man in charge of Vatican finances, a close advisor to the Pope himself. He was arrested, charged, and in 2018, convicted. He spent more than 400 days behind bars. Headlines around the world declared him guilty, his reputation seemingly destroyed forever. But then, in April 2020, the tide turned. Australia's High Court unanimously overturned the conviction. They ruled there was serious doubt. Pell walked free, but the scars remained. For him, for the victims, for the Church. His case became one of the most controversial trials in modern Catholic history. It showed us something important. When cardinals fall under accusation, the whole Church feels the weight. And sometimes justice is not clear-cut, but contested, messy, and painful. Back in Rome, history was made in December 2023. For the first time ever, a cardinal stood trial and was convicted inside Vatican City itself. Cardinal Angelo Becciu, once a trusted official close to Pope Francis, was sentenced to 5.5 years in prison for financial crimes. At the center of it all, a controversial real estate deal in London that cost the Vatican hundreds of millions of euros. Imagine it, a prince of the Church, judged guilty not by the world outside, but by the Vatican's own court. His appeal is still ongoing, and he remains free for now, but the verdict made history. It was proof that even within the walls of the Vatican, justice can and must be done. And then there's Cardinal Mindszenty of Hungary, a man whose courage still echoes decades later. In 1948, as communism spread across Eastern Europe, Mindszenty stood up against the regime's persecution of the Church. For that, he was arrested, tortured, dragged into a show trial where he was accused of treason and conspiracy. He was sentenced to life in prison. But he never broke. His suffering made him a hero for Catholics worldwide, a symbol of resistance against tyranny. Years later, he found refuge in the U.S. Embassy in Budapest, where he lived for 15 years. His story is not just about an arrest. It's about fidelity, courage, and the price of truth under persecution. These are real stories, documented, verified, painful. They remind us that the viral Pope Leo story is a fiction, but the history of the Church already has enough drama of its own. These are not shadows and whispers. These are flesh and blood events where faith, justice, and human weakness collided. And the lesson they leave us with is this: the truth is always more powerful, more complex, and more sobering than any viral rumor.
Now let's clear up one of the biggest misunderstandings. People imagine the Pope as a kind of monarch with absolute power, giving orders, pointing a finger, commanding arrests. But that's not how the Catholic Church actually works. So how does it work? Let's step inside the Vatican for a moment. The two systems, canon law versus civil law. The Catholic Church runs on two tracks of justice. On one track, there is canon law, the Church's own legal system developed over centuries. Under canon law, a cardinal or bishop can face discipline if he violates church teaching or moral obligations. The penalties: suspension, removal from office, even laicization. In plain terms, being stripped of priestly rights. But canon law doesn't involve handcuffs or prison bars. It's about spiritual authority, not civil punishment. That brings us to the second track, civil law. When a cardinal is accused of a crime, financial fraud, abuse, corruption, it's civil courts, whether in Australia, Italy, or Hong Kong, that handle those charges. And if the crime occurs inside Vatican territory, the Vatican City Tribunal steps in. Why the Pope doesn't order arrests? And here's the key.
The Pope doesn't storm into someone's office with guards and say, "Arrest this man." That's Hollywood. The Pope may authorize an investigation or remove someone from office, but arrests are carried out by the proper legal authority, Vatican gendarmes or civil police. Think of it this way. The Pope has moral authority. The courts have legal authority. They work side by side, but they're not the same. Take Cardinal Becciu's conviction in 2023. Pope Francis didn't throw him in jail with a snap of his fingers. Instead, Francis allowed the Vatican's legal system to run its course: investigations, evidence, trial, verdict. That separation is what gave the conviction its weight. Or look at Cardinal Pell. His case played out entirely in Australia's civil courts, not Rome. The Church had to wait, watching as the justice system of another country made its ruling. This is why any story of a pope personally ordering arrests is a red flag. That's not how justice is done in the Catholic Church. So, when you hear rumors of papal purges or mass arrests, remember this. Church discipline is real, trials are real, convictions are real, but they happen through structured systems, not through cinematic commands. The truth is less dramatic, but far more reliable.
Here's where it matters for you and me. Misinformation doesn't just confuse, it damages faith. It makes people cynical. It turns the Church into a soap opera. So what can you do? Here's a simple checklist. Who reported it first? If it's not Vatican News, Reuters, or AP, be cautious. Is there a Vatican communique? The Vatican always issues one for major actions. Can you find the names in the official College of Cardinals? If not, it's fake. Does it read like fact or like a thriller novel? Protect your heart and protect your faith by pausing before you click share. But now, let's turn from fear to hope, because here's the truth that matters most. Even when scandals happen, even when lies spread, our faith is not in cardinals or even in popes. Our faith is in Christ. Jesus said in Matthew 16:18, "The gates of hell shall not prevail against my church." That wasn't a vague promise, that was a guarantee. The Church has survived emperors, wars, corruption, even betrayals within her own walls, and she still stands. The Church is bigger than scandal. The holiness of the Church doesn't come from the perfection of her leaders. It comes from Christ Himself, present in the Eucharist, in the sacraments, in His Word. Even when leaders fail, the grace of God never stops flowing. So if this false story shook you, or if the real scandals weigh heavy on your heart, hear this. Stay rooted in prayer. Stay close to the Eucharist. Stay grounded in Scripture. And guard yourself against despair, because as John 8:32 says, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. To all my viewers, truth matters. Christ is our anchor. So let's stay faithful, stay discerning, and above all, stay close to Him. Because no matter what the rumors say, the Church remains His.